All right, let's get right into it. I am absolutely thrilled to be your guide today for what I like to call the ultimate high yield study session. If you're aiming to conquer the Food Handler Level 2 exam and really master real world kitchen compliance, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to take the official Ministry of Public Health guidelines and break them all down so you can not only ace the test, but actively run a safer, much more efficient operation. Let's get started.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our clear, structured roadmap for today's explainer. 1. Core food hazards defined. 2. Surviving the danger zone. 3. Master opening shift checklist. And 4. Documenting corrective actions. We are moving from pure exam theory straight into practical management.
So kicking things off with Section 1, Core Food Hazards Defined, the Contamination Threats.
To really understand food safety, we first have to define exactly what we're fighting against. The guidelines define a food hazard as literally any agent in food that has the potential to cause an adverse health effect. If any of these agents are present, that's contamination. There are 4 primary types you absolutely must know for the exam: biological, chemical, physical, and allergen. The ultimate goal here? Keep food entirely free from all of them at every single stage of the supply chain, from the farm all the way to the consumer's plate.
Let's break these down, starting with biological hazards. These are microorganisms, and yeah, most of them are completely invisible to the naked eye. Now, it's worth pointing out that not all microorganisms are bad, right? We safely use some bacteria for making yogurt or yeast for dough. But the harmful variants, those are your foodborne pathogens, and they are what cause food poisoning. You'll commonly see these hitching a ride on things like shellfish, raw fruits, or raw salads.
Next up, we have physical hazards. This is exactly what it sounds like: foreign materials that physically contaminate the food. For the exam, remember that these come from 2 distinct places. They can be farm-based, like dirt, stones, or straw on vegetables, or they can be prep-based, introduced by handlers or faulty equipment. We're talking glass, hair, jewelry, or splinters of wood. And hey, don't forget pests. Rodents and birds serve as physical hazards themselves, and that is definitely not a crunch anyone wants in their salad.
Then we've got chemical hazards. These are toxic substances that somehow end up in the food. Much like physical hazards, chemical risks aren't just from the outside, like agricultural pesticides or veterinary drugs on fresh produce. They also include the unsafe use of everyday disinfectants right inside your own kitchen. Seriously, a poorly wiped down prep counter with excess sanitizer on it, that's a major contamination risk you have to constantly guard against.
The 4th category is allergen hazards. These are specific food ingredients that trigger a severe immune response, or hypersensitivity in sensitive folks. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that food premises have a mandatory responsibility to declare these allergens clearly. If an allergen is mishandled or left undeclared, a perfectly safe everyday ingredient suddenly transforms into a severe, life-threatening risk for your consumer. Moving right along to Section 2, Surviving the Danger Zone, Temperature Battles. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the specific temperature range, 5 degrees to 65 degrees Celsius. Burn this exact range into your memory right now. This is the temperature danger zone. Foodborne bacteria multiply incredibly rapidly within this window. Food must always be kept out of this range to prevent contamination, especially your high-risk foods like fresh meat, poultry, fish, and dairy. To keep food out of that danger zone, we rely heavily on cold storage. But you absolutely must understand the distinct difference between chilling and freezing. Using a chiller, which has to be at 4 degrees Celsius or below, only slows down bacterial multiplication. It buys you time, but it doesn't eliminate the threat. Hitting that freezing mark of -18 degrees Celsius, though, that is a real game changer because it completely halts microbial growth entirely. So let's test your knowledge directly for a second. Imagine you're working the line and you notice just one single slice of a loaf of bread has mold on it. The rest of the loaf looks perfectly fine. What do? Well, according to the guidelines, you must apply the discard rule. If any part of a food item shows signs of biological hazard contamination, the uncontaminated parts cannot be saved. You can't just cut around the bad part. The entire loaf has to be trashed.
All right, Section 3, Master Opening Shift Checklist, Manager's Daily Routine. We've got the theory down, so let's pivot to practical kitchen management. A successful manager knows that operational readiness equals food safety. Here is the chronological compliance sweep you should be executing every single morning before the doors even open. 1.
Log the master temperatures. 2. Check all sanitation stations. 3. Audit your pest defenses. 4. Review smallwares. And 5. Do a quick pre-shift huddle with your team. Nailing this routine is the absolute best way to keep a kitchen audit ready.
Let's drill down into the details of that walkthrough. When you check temps, visually verify that calibration stickers on your fridges are actually present and valid. For sanitation, confirm hand-washing sinks are fully stocked with antibacterial soap and tissues. For infrastructure, check that water filtration gauges read an optimal 40 to 60 psi, and verify the blue UV lights of the insect killers are powered on. Finally, scan the line to ensure absolutely zero porous, unhygienic wooden utensils have made their way into prep areas. Which brings us to Section 4, Documenting Corrective Actions, the paperwork.
Look, in the eyes of a health inspector, simply identifying a hazard is only half the job. Let's use a scenario. During your morning sweep, you find a prohibited item, a difficult-to-clean, highly porous wooden spoon sitting right on the production line. What happens next? First, you remove it immediately, but it doesn't stop there. You have to generate a formal record of this non-conformance incident.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what you need for that. Mophie Template 17, the Non-Conformance Records Log. This is your go-to paperwork for whenever things go off script in the kitchen. Let's break down exactly how to fill this out, because the distinction between these boxes is a massive deal for the exam. First, describe the non-compliance, finding a wooden spoon on the line. Then, the corrective action. This is your immediate fix. In this case, you threw the spoon in the trash. Next is the preventative measure, your long-term step to stop it from happening again, like ordering all new stainless steel utensils. Finally, you have to get the PIC, the person in charge, to sign off on it. The guidelines are super clear on this. To quote the text directly, corrective actions shall be documented and include the required work or change and deadlines. These records have to be maintained on site, updated according to procedure, and signed by assigned personnel. If it isn't documented, well, as far as an auditor is concerned, it simply never happened. Your paperwork is the backbone of your compliance record. We've covered a massive amount of crucial ground in this explainer today, from the 4 core hazard types to the temperature danger zone, all the way to daily checklists and strict documentation. But as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a provocative thought. Whether you're just studying for your Level 2 exam or you're managing a 50-person kitchen brigade right now, are your daily logs actively preventing hazards, or are they just recording history? Treat your compliance routines as active shields against foodborne illness, not just a paperwork chore. Thanks so much for focusing in with me today.